You already saw 3 different ways to create a data frame: from a dictionary of lists, from a dictionary of lists plus specifying an index, from a list of dictionaries. A 4th way to create a data frame can be using a dictionary of pandas series. In this case, we will organize the already well-known product names and prices into a series. We will assign them to 2 variables that we'll call series products and series prices, respectively. We mustn't forget to indicate the column names as well. So, as we add the string product name and a colon here, and product price and a colon here, we are ready to run the cell. You just obtained the desired output, right? Yes. So, the keys acted as column names, while the series as the dictionary values from which we obtain the data of the new data frame. Then, should we decide to add an index to this table, the rules to follow will be a little different. We will have to add the same number of indices upon the creation of every series that is set to represent a column in our new data frame. Therefore, if we add a list with the strings A, B, and C as an index of series products and series prices, we can rerun the cell to obtain a more professional output. See? Finally, please remember that if you change the order of the index of one of the series, Python will eventually match its elements with their corresponding indices. However, in the final output, it will reorganize the values of every row. The purpose is to respond to the order provided in the index of the first series. That's why, as we execute this cell now, we obtain a price of $12,500 for product A and a price of $22,250 for product C, not vice versa, as was the case in the previous example. Okay. The 5th way to create a data frame is through a list of lists. As a rule, the number of elements in each inner list must be fixed. This will ensure that your data frame won't contain missing values unnecessarily. To see what we mean, execute the selected cell to recreate the content of the data frame we saw earlier in the lecture. Then, just add another integer within the last list and rerun the cell. As you can observe, a 3rd column containing missing values for the rest of the rows was added to the data frame. Therefore, to avoid this unwanted situation, we must be careful when matching the number of elements we have across the horizontal axis. Great! Let's use the occasion to show you another way to provide column and index names for a data frame. First, let's bring back the data frame to its previous state. Then, we can refer to the columns attribute and assign the relevant column names by providing a list with strings. See? Analogously, we can access the index attribute and provide 3 text values stored in a list with indices. Now, we obtained our desired data frame. Perfect! This leads us to the 6th and last way of creating a data frame. It is based on the tools you learned throughout this and the previous lecture from a programming perspective. These tools will let us appreciate why professionals love to precisely use this way of creating a data frame. Now that you have a good idea of the structure of a data frame, you realize that while constructing one, you need to provide information about the following: its data, its columns, its index. So, in that stage of creation, you can help yourself with the following parameters pertaining to the pandas data frame method: data, columns, and index. You can use these names to indicate what your data is going to be, what strings you are going to use as column names, and what your choice for index values is. In our example in Jupyter, this translates into assigning the relevant lists with information to the data, columns, and index parameters as shown in this cell. Therefore, you can run this code to create our data frame in a professional way. Nice! Since we already mentioned certain attributes of the pandas data frame, let's talk about another one that you will encounter quite often. The shape attribute can be extremely helpful by telling you exactly how many rows and columns you currently have in your data frame. While this wouldn't be very useful information in our example, imagine that you are working with a data frame containing tens of columns and thousands of rows. In such cases, you won't always be able to see the entire data at once. Then, referring to the shape method can come into play. Well done! Here we'll conclude our presentation about creating data frames from scratch. As a matter of fact, there are plenty of other ways to obtain the same results. Regardless, what you saw in the last 2 lectures will surely be sufficient for you to proceed towards working extensively with the most widely used pandas subject. the data frame. Thanks for watching.